This is the story of a Naval Reserve training crew. Our Navy's mission in peacetime is to support the foreign policy of the United States in widely separated areas of the world, and in wartime to gain and maintain control of the seas in order to use them for our own purposes and to deny their use to our enemies. Under that overall mission, a strong Naval Reserve is a military necessity. The mission of the Naval Reserve is to provide a body of trained men ready on short notice to augment our regular Navy in time of war or national emergency. The best way to ensure a well-trained reserve is to take our reservists aboard our active ships and give them training in actual seagoing operations. This is the story of such a Naval Reserve training crew. The story of a group of part-time citizen sailors whose rates vary from seaman apprentice to chief petty officer, and whose civilian occupations encompass an even greater range. A graduate student and a garage mechanic, a bond salesman and a city fireman, a research worker and a factory laborer. In short, representatives of all walks of life. But these officers and men all have one common bond, a sense of duty to their country and devotion to their Navy. For 48 weeks, these men have spent one evening a week at their local Naval Reserve training centers, learning the skills necessary to the functioning of an efficient, modern Navy. There each man trains in one of various ratings or specialties, perhaps as an electronics technician, or a pipe fitter, or a radioman. Now they put aside their civvies and their regular jobs to go to sea. This is their chance to put the skills and knowledge gained at the Naval Reserve training centers to practical test in shipboard training at sea. Annual training cruises for the United States Naval Reserve are made from both East and West Coast ports and are carried on in the 39 destroyer type and smaller surface vessels assigned to full-time Naval Reserve training duty, or in assigned ships of the active U.S. fleet. From cities and towns up and down the East Coast, from Boston to Charleston, the men for this particular cruise assemble at the 6 ports of embarkation. The 1,000 reserve officers and enlisted men who volunteered for this special 4-week cruise come from reserve training centers located in the eastern part of the country. With the reserves aboard, all boilers are lit off and final preparations for getting underway are completed. The departure times have been set so that all ships will join up at the rendezvous on schedule. 13 destroyer escorts and 2 fast assault transports comprise the 2 divisions. These ships, assigned solely for training naval reservists, are bound for ports in Spain and Portugal this year. For all hands, this spells adventure and the excitement of foreign travel. But even more important, this is an opportunity to put to a test the knowledge of their various rates and specialties. Aboard all ships of the squadron, training and drills begin immediately. The reservists are assigned to watches and battle stations and introduced to the routine of shipboard living. Instructions in the use of life jackets and survival at sea are given. This is very necessary for the recruit and a good refresher for the others. Marlin spike seamanship and every other facet of shipboard routine is covered with emphasis always on practical instruction. In anticipation of the first Liberty port, instructions in military courtesy and proper conduct ashore are emphasized, for American sailors abroad are representatives of our country and must be ambassadors of goodwill. All divisions, including reserves, are ready for inspection. Young faces, old faces, a school teacher from Ohio, a student from South Carolina, a machinist from Pennsylvania. All these men understand the role of the Naval Reserve and their responsibility as American citizens. Before the cruise ends, they will be a mobile and efficient fighting force, available and ready in any national emergency.
Now the 1st Division, stand by to receive high line, port side 2. All hands, Topside, not engaged in highline transfer. Stand clear.
This is an unexpected and unscheduled drill and takes place just off the Azores Islands, where some of the ships are scheduled to fuel at Ponta Delgada, the capital city. A young reservist from a ship not going to Ponta Delgada is to be transferred so that he may go ashore and visit relatives living there. This operation was used extensively during World War II and the recent Korean War to effect the transfer of personnel, mail, supplies, and ammunition. It requires high skill in seamanship from the commanding officer to the lowest rating participating. This gives the reservists an actual chance to appreciate the usefulness of the operation and to show their success in mastering this difficult operation. The ships steam into Ponta Delgada Harbor and the first foreign liberty nears. These islands, discovered and settled by the Portuguese, served as U.S. naval bases during World Wars I and II. As a result, the American sailors will be welcomed as old friends. With the ships moored, the young seaman who made the highline transfer is among the first ashore. After 5 days at sea, the men have a chance to stretch their legs, sightseeing in the quaint old town. Some sailors shop for linens and embroidered items in the colorful shops, or chat with the friendly people. Although Portuguese is the official language of the Azores, most shopkeepers speak English. Other reservists visit nearby seaside resorts. They're particularly impressed by the black sand beaches and the local method of laundering. Many of the fences and walls are covered with lush tropical flowers and are of volcanic rock. After being refueled and with crews refreshed, it's back to sea for a rendezvous with the other ships of the training squadron. Upon joining up, the squadron commander orders tactical maneuvers. A signal is bent on and hoisted. Turn 9 is in the air. The quartermaster takes a bearing on the guide ship. The signal is executed. The officer of the deck orders right standard rudder, and the wheel is put over, and the turn is completed. Gunnery practice is on the plan of the day. An empty barrel, painted a bright color for better visibility, is rolled off the fantail to act as a target for the 20 and 40 millimeter firing practice. Those hours of loading drill back at the reserve training centers now pay off. With each successive burst of gunfire, the reserve loaders, pointers, and trainers become more proficient. After a strenuous day of drills, exercises, and shipboard routine, the men relax in the crew's messing compartment. The transit of the broad Atlantic is now completed, and our naval reservists look forward to liberty in Europe. The storybook people and places of Spain become a reality as the ships prepare to moor at the quay wall at Cadiz. Spanish officials pay a welcoming visit to the American vessels in the traditional exchange of honor. After skillful ship handling and seamanship by bridge and deck personnel, once again the ships are nested. All men not in the duty section are free to go ashore and see the sights of this historic city, which dates back to the days of the Phoenicians. As in most Spanish cities, one of the main attractions for the reservists is the cathedral with its marble pillars and golden domes. The architecture shows evidence of the Moorish occupation many years ago. The downtown plazas with their colorful mosaic sidewalks also show the Moorish influence and attract the interest of sailors. Cadiz is rich in monuments and churches, and is also noted for its straight, narrow streets. The biggest spectator sport in Spain is, of course, the bullfight. The reservists join the local fans and take the bus to the Corrida de Toros. The Americans soon find themselves caught up in the gaiety and festive spirit of the crowd. The entrance of the bullfighters, the toreros, clad in the traditional knee breeches, embroidered jackets, and black velvet caps, signals the beginning of the spectacle. Another group of reservists takes a bus trip to the famous Moorish palace, the Alcazar, 60 miles away in Seville, a decided contrast to the pageantry and wild excitement of the bullfight. The Alcazar, with its stately gardens, spacious courtyards, and beautiful tiled walls, was originally occupied by Moorish sultans. Later it became the summer residence of the Spanish monarchs. It was here that Columbus received permission from Queen Isabella to start on his first voyage to the New World. In the background, over the banks of flowers in the Alcazar gardens, can be seen the lofty Giralda bell tower, erected by the Moors many years ago as a part of a mosque. The graceful Giralda tower was retained and incorporated into the cathedral design. The Seville Cathedral, one of the largest and most beautiful in the world, was built on the site of the old mosque. Of all American sightseers, U.S. sailors are the most enthusiastic. Their activities range from riding in a picturesque horse-drawn carametta to visiting cultural museums. But now it's again single up and cast off all lines, for the visit to Spain is over. All engines ahead standard speed as the ships steam out and clear Cadiz Harbor. The primary mission of this reserve cruise is resumed, training to become a proficient Navy fighting force. Sea routine and drills continue. Here's another familiar weapon on the ships of our destroyer force, the Hedgehog, used for anti-submarine warfare. The regular crew members show the reservists how to load. After the initial firings, the reservists will get a chance to operate the gear and to demonstrate how well they have learned their lessons. A taut ship is a happy ship, so the busy training routine goes on. Gun crews, signalmen, and combat information center groups are beginning to function as well-drilled, alert teams.
Divine services is now being held on the fantail. Knock off all unnecessary work. The smoking lamp is out. Knock off all card games. Keep silence about the deck.
On Sunday, work temporarily halts on all ships for divine services. Meanwhile, the ships steam from Spain towards Portugal. Another respite from drills is in sight as the formation approaches the mouth of the Tagus River. River pilots will board and assist in conning the ships up the Tagus to Lisbon. Steaming up the river, the ships pass the spot from which Vasco da Gama set sail for India in 1497, Fort Juliano, a memorial to Portugal's golden era of discovery and exploration. Mooring the ships alongside the quay wall is a challenge to seamanship. A young reservist tries his hand with a heaving line and makes it. 3 days of liberty in Lisbon for the reservists are scheduled. Lisbon is Portugal's chief city and one of the greatest international capitals of the world. First of all, a ride down the renowned three-part Avenida da Liberdade, the Portuguese Champs-Élysées. The boulevard is named for the great obelisk in the center, which commemorates Portugal's liberation from Spanish rule in 1882. The magnificent blue and white tile frescoes, so typical of Portugal, attract two of our seagoing sightseers. The fresco depicts the fall of the old Moorish castle in 1146. Other sailors head for the great tourist attraction, the Castle of St. George, site of the battle shown in the tiles. The castle is estimated to be over 1,200 years old. In the shadow of its walls is the old city of Lisbon, the section which survived the great earthquake of 1755. Here in the harbor, studded with ships, is an old three-masted frigate, built 122 years ago and now manned by the Portuguese Navy. It serves as a home and a school for 150 orphan boys ranging in age from 11 to 16. American reservists are invited aboard to observe the schooling and pre-naval training of the boys. Periodically, officers of the regular Portuguese Navy inspect the boys' training. The special tour arranged for the Americans starts with a parade of the snappy drum and bugle corps. Drums are decorated by the boys themselves, and the snares are covered by a unique sort of porcelain developed at the school. The young cadets exhibit their skill in marlin spike seamanship and plain and fancy knot tying. They man the rigging with the usual nimbleness associated with old-time sailors. Another field trip takes a group of reservists to the little town of Sintra, 14 miles from Lisbon. Sintra is known as the town of palaces. It has three. From Pena Palace, former royal summer residence set high among the rocky peaks, the sailors can look up at the ruins of a Moorish castle on another crag. From Lisbon, still another group takes a bus to Cascais, a charming little fishing village west of Lisbon. Here at the Villa d'Italia, they get an opportunity to meet royalty in the person of ex-king of Italy Umberto and his two lovely daughters, the Princesses Marie Beatrice and Maria Gabriella. Some of the reservists of Italian descent are introduced to the king and the two princesses. One of the sailors delights and amazes the royal family by snapping their picture with a Polaroid camera and presenting them with the finished photo. pleasant day passes quickly, and it's back to Lisbon once more. Along the quay in Lisbon, the ships are full dressed with colorful flags and pennants in celebration of our own 4th of July. A group of Portuguese orphans are invited to board the American ships. Like boys all over the world, they're curious about everything, particularly the guns. As a typical American treat, ice cream is served to the clowning youngsters. Station the special sea details. Stand by to answer all bells. Now it's heave up and underway again as the homeward bound passage begins. Days and weeks have sped by almost unnoticed in training and in sightseeing. And now the last days of the cruise are in sight. But there's no let-up in emergency drill. General quarters, abandoned ship, man overboard, collision, damage control, and simulated engine casualties. Lessons learned in the over 300 Naval Reserve training centers located throughout the United States are put into practice. Every hour is important to the reserve, and the time spent by gun crews and other teams in practice today will be important in combat tomorrow. Petty officer in charge reports K-guns manned and ready. Each man learns speed and efficiency in his job so that his group will perform better as a unit. Charges hit the water and explode, sending spray in all directions and sealing the fate of a mythical submarine lurking in the depths. And then quite suddenly the cruise ends. According to plan, ships are ordered to break off and proceed independently or in twos and threes to their home ports. As the ships steam into the various harbors, the reservists look back over the past weeks and the great distance they've traveled. All now realize that the theory learned at weekly drills at the training centers has been translated into action. As a result of these weeks of action afloat, the Naval Reserve builds strong, disciplined, well-trained individuals who are part of the greatest nautical team in the world, the United States Navy. This skilled, vigorous, and confident United States Naval Reserve is our country's best answer to any threat of enemy aggression.